Should government invest in high-speed rail? Hi everyone, today I'd like to discuss an important question in transportation economics and public policy. Should governments invest heavily in high-speed rail, or should they leave transportation infrastructure largely to market forces? Transportation is often described as the backbone of economic development. Efficient transportation systems reduce travel time, facilitate trade, and enhance labor mobility. As cities expand and populations become increasingly concentrated, governments face growing pressure to improve national transportation networks. Among the available options, high-speed rail has attracted considerable attention. Supporters argue that high-speed rail generates substantial positive externalities. Although the direct users are passengers, the broader benefits extend to society as a whole. Fast rail connections stimulate regional development, increase tourism, reduce traffic congestion, and improve access to employment opportunities. Moreover, by encouraging travelers to shift from automobiles and short-haul flights to electric rail systems, high-speed rail can significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Another economic justification concerns network effects. The value of a transportation network increases as additional routes and stations are connected. A single railway line may provide limited benefits, but an integrated national network dramatically expands mobility and economic interaction. Because private investors cannot always capture these widespread social benefits, governments may have a legitimate role in financing large-scale infrastructure. Furthermore, infrastructure investment may produce long-term economic gains. During periods of economic slowdown, public investment creates employment while simultaneously increasing future productivity. Economists often argue that well-designed infrastructure generates returns over several decades through higher output and greater regional integration. However, critics remain skeptical. High-speed rail projects require enormous upfront expenditures and frequently exceed their original budgets. In contrast with relatively low population density, passenger demand may be insufficient to justify the investment. Resources devoted to expensive rail systems could instead be allocated to education, healthcare, or digital infrastructure. From this perspective, the opportunity cost of public investment deserves careful consideration. Another concern involves government efficiency. Large infrastructure projects sometimes become influenced by political rather than economic considerations. Stations may be constructed in regions with limited demand because of electoral incentives instead of objective cost-benefit analysis. When political incentives distort investment decisions, taxpayers may bear the burden of inefficient resource allocation. In my opinion, governments should neither approve nor reject high-speed rail projects on ideological grounds. Instead, each proposal should be evaluated through rigorous cost-benefit analysis that incorporates not only financial returns but also environmental sustainability, regional development, and long-term social welfare. Public investment is justified when the project's social benefits substantially exceed its costs. Otherwise, scarce public resources should be directed toward more productive alternatives. Ultimately, transportation infrastructure is not merely an engineering project. It is an investment in a nation's future economic capacity. The challenge for policymakers is ensuring that infrastructure decisions are guided by evidence, economic efficiency, and the public interest rather than short-term political considerations. So here's my question for you. Should governments prioritize large-scale infrastructure projects such as high-speed rail, or should they allow market demand to determine which transportation systems expand? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for listening. See you next time.